6 students from Florida Coast University to talk to us this morning, and you guys can actually just grab, grab a seat wherever, grab your microphone, and I'll let them introduce themselves, but we're excited that we have these students here today to talk to you a little about how they use search and social to find and share content. We'll talk a little about how the students are using social and various online tools for learning and in coursework and in informal learning, because as the lines between search and social continue to blur, the distinction between learning informally and formally changes quite a bit. So let's start with you, Sarah. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us what year you are in school, what you're studying, and the social networks that you're a part of right now. And I'm going to grab a seat.
I'm Sarah. I'm a senior at Florida Gulf Coast, and I study communications with a focus in PR. And I use Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and a little bit of Pinterest.
I'm Brittany. I'm a junior at Florida Gulf Coast University. I study health science, and I use Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and a little bit of Pinterest as well.
Hi, my name is John Galame. I'm a senior at Florida Gulf Coast University. My major is athletic training, and I use Facebook and Twitter generally.
Hi, I'm Thomas Krumzig. I'm a junior, a management major, and I mainly use Facebook and a little bit of Google+.
My name's Kristen. I study journalism, and I mostly use Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and a little bit of Google+, but not too much.
I'm Dan Pfaffenbach. I'm a senior studying communication and journalism. I use Twitter and Facebook pretty much, and I've tried out Google+, but not really into it.
So you guys have tried Google+, but Facebook and Twitter seem to be the networks that you spend most of your time. Tell us a little about how you use Facebook and Twitter differently for finding information, for searching for things, for keeping in touch with people. Tell us about the differences between the two.
Well, I feel like that Facebook is sort of more personal. I like to keep in contact with my friends from outside of the city of Fort Myers. I lived in Miami and Orlando, so I feel like a lot of people there I can keep more contact with. And when I'm on Twitter, I like getting the news from there more and keeping my professional face on, so when I get out into the real world outside of college, that business employers can see that I actually use Twitter and know how to keep up social media pages, because I feel like they're more active on Twitter than they are Facebook.
Okay.
I kind of agree with Dan. I use Twitter more professionally, and Facebook just kind of keep in touch with friends, family. I follow a lot of news organizations and journalists on Twitter, so I kind of the same thing. I just kind of keep it professional, and it's almost kind of keeping like a resume on Twitter. So,
what about the rest of you?
I agree. I think Facebook is more connecting with friends and family, and Twitter is more to get like information and communicate with like classmates in school to share the same information rather than Facebook.
Yeah, I definitely feel like for Twitter it's more disconnected. You're just getting constant news and like information from different types of people if you know them or not. And then Facebook I definitely keep more personal.
So what motivates you to like a company or a news organization so that you do get their information on Facebook?
I don't like any really, so I can't answer that.
I think if it interests you, you like it and read their information. I don't see people liking different companies that they're not interested in just to have a whole bunch of their different news feed coming up.
Yeah, I use, if I want to look at companies or follow them, I usually just go to their webpage or keep track on what they post there. And Facebook, I like pages or businesses that really just friends of mine, or if I know people that work there, I usually like it and follow them that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I usually, if they have promotions or if I'm interested in them, I'll follow them on Facebook. But other than that, I follow most companies on Twitter.
So why do you think you see such a big separation between Facebook and Twitter? And do you see that sort of separation between some of the other social networks or social tools that you use for gathering information? Do you see them as completely separate from Facebook as well?
Well, it's just, I feel like Facebook is like usually used by mostly everyone. Everyone uses Facebook nowadays, so it's easy to like, you know, get in contact with anyone almost in the world with whoever like uses social networking.
Facebook, I definitely kind of grew up with. I had it all through high school, so it started as kind of just friends and stuff, and I kind of just recently got Twitter because of school, and then now it's become something that our teachers like show you how to use and how vital it is going to be if you, especially in my major of communications and PR. So definitely Facebook I'm more comfortable with because I grew up with it, and then Twitter is just kind of a new thing that I'm getting adjusted to.
So how would your college experience have been different if there was no Facebook or Twitter?
I feel that communication would be very hard at times because, like we were talking about earlier, the emails, and not everybody responds right away, but everybody's always on their phone, which usually has Facebook or Twitter, so it's a lot easier to communicate with and a lot faster process too.
Yeah, I moved here 3 years ago from Germany, and I use Facebook to stay in touch with many friends of mine who are in Germany. And I think without Facebook that Germany would just be a different kind of world where I really didn't have any connection to.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think communication would be a lot harder. I probably would have to go out more often because I'm not talking to everyone on my phone or on social networks. But I think it would be a lot different. It's hard to imagine not having these other networks and everything to be able to talk to people with.
How do you think group work, because you guys do a lot of group projects in classes, how do you think coursework or your education experience would be different?
We would definitely have to meet more in the library, that's for sure. On Twitter, you couldn't just make group hashtags and post your information. On Facebook, you wouldn't be able to make your own group profiles to just put all your information in one spot. There would have to be someone that keeps a log of all the information you go through. Everyone would have to meet in a circular table or so and just use one computer and keep all the information in one spot, where you couldn't just pile all your information up in a certain account where everybody has access to it.
Yeah, I had an international group project where I was grouped with 5 other students from different countries all over the world, and it was basically, they left it up to us what kind of communication we use, but we started out with their email and then went on to whatever we preferred. My group stayed with email because not all of them had Facebook and didn't really want to get it, and I just saw that the process was really slow and demotivating by using email. If I compare it to other groups in my class that used Facebook, for example, they had a lot more conversation. It was quicker, and they actually could exchange ideas and stuff.
Much more collaborative.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely see that too, where people in groups or even classmates will respond to me quicker using Facebook than they would over email. Even teachers sometimes do.
Are you guys friends with your teachers on Facebook?
No.
A couple of them, yeah.
Twitter, definitely, they always try to tell you that you should follow them, and like it's kind of interesting to see how they use it versus students.
Mm-hmm. Now, John, you're part of a group that
Yeah,
does use Facebook quite a bit for.
Yeah, we use the Facebook group to like kind of keep in touch with everyone from our athletic training program. We have about 18 students in there, and we kind of post articles pertaining to, different health and science things that kind of interest us, and we kind of collaborate and talk about what's been going on in the athletic training realm.
No, you guys also, a lot of you use Angel as sort of your Blackboard or alternative as a social collaboration tool for your classes as well. Tell us a little about that, what you tend to do and how you populate it with information and where you get things to share there?
All of my classes, as well as I'm pretty sure everyone else's, every class has their own like Angel page. So the teachers use it to organize our work and our syllabus of what we're doing the semester and each week. And there's also chat rooms that I use a lot for group work, talking like to your classmates, and it's almost like a easier form of communication so that you are almost one-on-one with that person at the time to organize your project easier.
Yeah, I'm not really that. I'm not really a fan of Angel. I just use it to submit all my work and basically do what I have to do on there. And if I want to search something, I use Google or some other search engine, and then just get the information from there and put it on Angel. And you can also see that some teachers don't really know how to organize Angel or work with it, so there's always some issues with that.
Yeah, same with me. I'm not that much of a fan of Angel. It seems it's kind of complicated to communicate to the students and the professors. Sometimes it's like the last thing on people's list when they log onto their computer most of the time. So it's kind of difficult to reach out to other students that way.
So what do you think are the advantages of using something like Facebook or Twitter or some other online tool to gather information and collect stuff and collaborate? What are the advantages of using that over a formal tool like Angel, where everything is organized for your class?
I think part of the problem for me with Angel is that it just has a really bland interface. There's nothing that really makes me want to go to Angel to do a group project. I would much rather just do, a Facebook group or something on Twitter. The other social networks seem easier.
And do you think that if a lot of your coursework or your instructors were encouraging you to use Facebook groups, that you would do that, or like a Google Plus Hangout, or?
Yes, I definitely think that I would pay a lot more attention to Facebook. I have it on my phone, and so I can constantly go on to Facebook and I would see notifications instantly. And with Angel, I basically look at it maybe 3 times a week and see what's due and plan my week after that. And I don't really communicate with anyone on Angel.
So let's talk about how important it is for whatever tools you use for coursework, but also just to find stuff in general. How important is it for you for that to be available on your phone, for it to be mobile?
Well, I feel like as a journalism minor, I can go on there, read different articles because I should be reading a lot more. Mm-hmm. And I can read different leads and nut graphs on how to actually form an article and what news is hot, especially for sports journalism. I can learn what I need to do to become a better sports journalist. And by having that on my phone, I can be sitting on a bus or be waiting for a class to start. And that's just another learning tool right before I have to do something. So not only does it kill time, but it also helps me learn what I need to do for the future.
Okay.
Yeah, I use my apps on the phone a lot to check on the news between classes, or if I'm bored, I just see what's going on in the world.
So if you were to build a tool that allowed you to search and to find information, share information with your friends, do group projects, do all of that social collaboration that we've been talking about, what would that tool look like? Or what would this service look like? And would it be integrated with the social tools that you use now?
I think if you could kind of connect everything, it'd just be more easier. I think a lot of reasons why people don't use Angel is because it's just one more thing, and not everyone capitalizes on its benefits. When everyone has Twitter and Facebook, then it's just there. We can all use it, everyone checks it. So if you can collaborate it to be one thing, then it's just one less thing to check, one less thing to keep updated on. And definitely on your phone makes it so much easier. I know everyone's always on the go.
Oh, I just downloaded the Flipbook application on my iPhone a few days ago, and I'm actually really liking that application because what it is I can just flip through the pages, flip from my Twitter account to my Facebook account, so it's all in one spot. And I feel like that's pretty much what you're speaking about and how it would look.
Okay. Would it feel like any tools that you're using now? It would. You mentioned Flipbook. What about the rest of you?
I think that Flipbook would be an awesome thing, just because, like he said, everything will be all together and everyone's always on their phone. And I think that if you had like Angel mixed in with like the Flipbook with Facebook and Twitter, it wouldn't hurt to just flip over and see any updates or anything from your teacher, rather than going and signing in on the website itself and stuff like that.
Yeah, I actually have Flipbook on my iPad, and since I don't have my iPad all the time with me, I'm like usually not on it. So I might try using it on my iPhone. Maybe it'll work better. That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, okay. Tell me
Because I
something.
only go on Angel to go check up grades and
Yeah.
emails. That's all I use Angel for.
So you want something that's integrated with the social experience that you're already involved in.
Well, yes, I think if Angel would be more social, then it would definitely help a lot, and you would definitely stay on there a lot, because you could see what other people are thinking about topics that are relevant to you in that moment, and it would also help a lot to share information about those topics, and you could see different opinions, and if you could also search for new stuff, have a search, and then on there, it would definitely help.
I started thinking the other day to myself that I was wondering how many websites I have accounts for. And there's probably 5 or 6 of them where I have accounts for, and I only actually go to 3 of them maybe. So I started to think it would be easier to put them all in one place, so that way I wouldn't have to jump around spot to spot, remembering what email I put for this account, what password for that account. And it would just all be simpler if it was in one spot, instead of having to remember what websites you've signed up for and not.
Now, would you want all of that stuff to be integrated with an account that you already have, like Facebook? Would you want it to be integrated with Facebook?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I just think it's important to keep like everything separate. Like I know I like to keep like my personal life separate from other things, obviously all of you guys too. But definitely if you could separate into being like school section, professional setting. I know Google Plus kind of has that, I think. I don't use it though, but just to have it separate for everything so you could go to a certain, because if it was all together and busy, it would be confusing.
I definitely agree with Sarah. I think it's would be too much sharing of information to some people that you don't want to share that information to. If you would have everything in Facebook, it would definitely make it easy if you had just one place where you can just log into and go to everything.
So a
Other
lot of the
pages, yeah.
features that you guys are describing are kind of features that are offered by certain networks that already exist. Why do you think you don't use them?
Just because there's no real promotion. I feel like you're on Facebook or Twitter, but no one promotes these companies or these social sites where you can go and integrate everything into one. But I do realize now that different websites let you sign in with your Facebook account, but there's no way that you would know that you can go to all these sites if there was no promotion.
Okay. All right. So when you're working with other students in a classroom project or when you're collaborating with other students, what things would you like to be able to do that you can't do right now? Using social tools or other communication tools, what are the things that you would like to be able to do that you can't do right now?
I really can't think of any other features that I already don't utilize on the social networks that I'm on right now. You know, I can chat, share articles, use hashtags on Twitter. I mean, there's really not a lot of other features that I'm looking for that aren't already offered on the networks, so.
Sean, do you agree?
Yeah, I was thinking there's just like not enough collaboration. Like, yeah, we have all these different types of like media we could like go through and talk to each other, but like there's a lot of people who are still kind of like not like kind of into like using technology as a ways to cooperate. So like we would still have to like kind of meet up as a group, like at the library or something, like if it came down to it.
I mean,
If it came down to it.
I have classmates that have no clue how to use Twitter. Some of them don't even know Twitter exists. And when I have a teacher say, "Oh, I'm gonna either post these on Twitter or I can post these on Angel or his WordPress site," they'd rather him post on his WordPress site, go into Angel, and click a link that links to his WordPress. And I just think to myself, it's much easier just to sign on to Twitter real quick and search up his Twitter profile so we can get all the articles we need.
I think the same thing. I've noticed a lot, especially with other journalism majors, almost everyone has a Twitter account. I mean, in most classes, we have to have one. But when I talk to people from other majors, you know, they don't have one or they use Twitter just to like rant or stuff. The first thing I think of is like, I don't know how to work with them. You know, like I immediately think like, oh, well, we can do this on Facebook. And if they don't have a Facebook, I'm just like, oh, so, you know,
Who
what do
are
we do now?
you? How do you live? Do you know people that exist outside of social networks entirely?
Of course. One of my friends in one of my classes, his name's Chris. He doesn't have a Facebook or Twitter or any of that. I mean, he's a little older than I am. He's married, probably hitting 30, but he doesn't he doesn't have a Facebook or any of that, and he's perfectly fine with it. He doesn't rely on it to go contact his friends. If he needs something, he'll either make a phone call or do an email.
I'm the same way. I have older friends that like
Around 30.
they just kind of, you know, were old enough or maybe like too much past it when Facebook came out. They were just kind of above it or just couldn't really get into it. And we were a lot younger, so we all really got into it. So a lot of them, you know, they really just dismiss technology, Twitter, smartphones. I know a lot of them still have flip phones and everything, so they like just kind of miss it. And I don't know if it's like just a bit of a generational gap or just we grew up with
Do you
it.
feel like everyone your age though is pretty socially connected? I mean, you guys are all, even those of you who aren't using much more than Facebook and Twitter are still really connected.
I think definitely the college age and years, you definitely have to have a Facebook just because everyone spreads out, everyone goes everywhere. You want to keep in touch, you want to see what people are doing, who they're dating, what's new, and stuff like that. So I definitely think it's pretty vital for people in college to have one.
Yeah, I think it's one of the first questions you ask if you want to reconnect with someone that you meet is, do you have a Facebook? Or if it's especially if it's in a different country, you don't want to, I mean, if you hand out your phone number, then you might get some charges on for
So
the
when you're
rates
about
and
to, I don't know, go on a date with someone or meet someone, maybe not even in person, you want to research them, where do you go? Do you do a Google search on them or do you just go to Facebook? What do you do? How do you find out about people or companies?
I say Facebook, just because it's sort of creepy to go out there and Google someone that you're about to go meet up with. And you go see their Facebook account, like we're saying, it's a little more personal, so you can really see what they're into, what they've been doing with their lives. And then Google just spits out random facts where someone could have done something wrong in their lives and made one mistake, and people start to judge them off that one mistake. Where you go to their Facebook, you can actually see how they really may be like in real life.
So Facebook stalking is benign, but Google searching someone is creepy.
I think it's all creepy. That's just me. I don't do that.
People on Facebook have a chance to keep their profile private.
Okay.
So if they don't keep it private, that means maybe they want people to come search them, and they don't mind if someone comes and searches them. Because I have friends that go for job interviews, and before a job interview, they'll delete their Facebook account, so they don't see it. And it's sort of creepy when they search Facebook account and say, this is the type of person that would have a Facebook, what happened? And then they get a job or they don't get a job. They bring it back up. And I found, especially in Fort Myers, a lot of people know the same people. So when you're going to search for a job, they're going to have friends in common anyway. So they're going to know that you have a Facebook account or you don't before they even go search your Facebook account. So there's, I don't know, I feel like if you want to keep it private, you keep it private. If you don't, then let people search you.
Are you guys going to do the whole scrubbing of your Facebook account before you, or when you graduate, those of you who are about to?
Well, I think, yeah, you hear a lot from other people that know people that I guess didn't get a job or didn't get accepted to grad school or something like that because of Facebook or stuff that they posted on the internet. I personally really watch out what I put on Facebook and don't really, I mean, I will probably look at my Facebook and see how it looks to a person that would just meet me, just in case there is something that looks weird or is not really reflecting me. I would change that.
Now, how do you decide what you're going to share on Facebook versus Twitter versus Instagram?
Well, I have a lot of friends on Facebook that I don't even know that good, and I haven't really talked to them that much, so I kind of don't want to share too much information with them, and so I have it set up that certain people can see more information, and some people don't.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I go on Facebook, I pretty much update my statuses with maybe how I'm feeling or what I'm doing, whereas on Twitter, I'll leave my statuses for a topic that my followers might find as interesting. Instead of just what I want to put up there, I'll filter it into what might interest my followers, so they'll maybe retweet me back or notice me a little more or whatnot.
It's the, when I'm on Twitter, I'll share different articles or, you know, different things. But when I'm on Facebook, I just kind of consider that my family is my audience and they probably don't care so much about all of the stuff that I'm doing, or they're not as interested. Whereas if I post an article on social media about social media on Twitter, I know that I'll have a bigger audience that's interested in it. Whereas on Facebook, I could post an old family photo and that would be the appropriate audience for it.
So even though you like the experience of using Facebook for social collaboration and for coursework, it's still the place where you consider it most about friendship and keeping up with people and communicating with people, and Twitter is more professional and article sharing and newsy, if you will.
Yeah.
So even though you want everything integrated with Facebook, you still consider that to be the separation.
Well, I think if there was a way where you can sort of put up walls between accounts but still have it in one place, that would be the perfect site.
Now, do you guys use any of the lists that you can create in Facebook?
No.
I didn't even know there were lists on Facebook. I just knew Twitter had lists.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that we should start allowing you guys to ask questions. So, I know there are a couple of people out there that have microphones.
Okay. We got one
Let's
right
go
here
ahead and
already. Yep.
Take our first question.
If you could pick any living person to be the voice of a certain... No, I'm just kidding. So I'm wondering, two-part question. How many of you know that there are ads on Facebook? Show of hands. How many of you have clicked on an ad on Facebook? For the two that have clicked, why did you click? And for the 4 that didn't, what would make you want to click on an ad on Facebook?
I actually clicked on it on accident. But usually the stuff on the ads is not really that important to me, and it is really, I don't know if the filter is wrong, but I feel like weird stuff is coming up at the ads. So yeah,
Actually, it's kind of creepy. I know that like links to like what you search, I think, is that right? But it always has like weird travel things, because I'm from Oregon where it's very nature-esque, and I always click on the ones that are like travel here, travel there, and because there's like awesome pictures and I want to go there. So those kind of things. And then there's a lot of sports stuff because I play basketball at FGCU, so whenever it interests me, I definitely give it a click, and then I'll browse somewhere else for a while.
Why don't the rest of you click on ads on Facebook?
Well, with me, I pretty much have a lot of sports, so it'll show up that you can buy 5 Orlando Magic t-shirts for $50 or something. I say to myself, is this site really credible? If I go put my credit card information in this site, what's going to happen next? And then I start thinking to myself that if I really wanted these t-shirts, I would just go out to Champs and go buy them on my own.
Oh,
Yeah.
you go ahead.
For a lot of the ads, I just think it's so creepy. I mean, even just, writing on someone else's wall, I'll talk about a show, and the next day one of the ads will have that actor on it. And it just really weirds me out. And a lot of the stuff is, oh, well, if you like this, like our page, follow us. And I'm either not that interested in following it, or, I see it on Twitter, or I've already seen the movie or something. So the ad's really just creepy, but useless for me.
Yeah, it's because I know that like it is linked to my searches, so because like it's kind of like similar, it is kind of creepy. That's why I don't like really click on it. It's kind of weird.
I thought they were viruses. That's why I never clicked on them.
All right. Yes.
Stephen Scar of Xenia. What would your reaction be if Facebook announced that apart from being a social site, they would compete with Google and Bing and become a search engine?
You asked what if Facebook became a search engine like Google?
Yeah, what would your reaction be if they decided to become a search engine as well as a social site and compete with those engines, Google and Bing?
I feel like it would start to become like a MySpace. That's why people don't use MySpace anymore. So Facebook is more for people. That's why it's called Facebook, because your face is pretty much, your face is on a picture or is on a profile, which is like your life book almost, from when you created the account to present. That's pretty much why, I guess, what's his name, Mark Zuckerberg created Facebook.
I think if it would be kept separate and would not really interfere with with your Facebook as it is now, I would probably consider using it, and definitely if I could, it would make it easier to post stuff and articles and search directly on Facebook, but I wouldn't really want to use the searches as kind of my profile post.
So if you had more control over the specific items from your profile that could be searched, you would be more okay with it?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
4 years ago, Michelle, you were here and had your college panel, and I made the comment about everybody's your own brand. And when I made the comment of once you post something online, it's there forever, and it's interesting, fast forwarding 4 years or whatever it's been, that now you guys are talking about scrubbing your accounts or deleting your accounts before going to interviews. So we're making progress, but is that something that's even discussed among students nowadays? Is, hey, I'm posting photos of me at a party and whatnot, and then you're not thinking, okay, someday I'm going to go out into the workforce, and that's going to be seen by an employer. And someone made the comment of that the guy was scrubbing it the day before he went to the interview. Well, I'm interviewing folks all the time, and as soon as that resume comes across my desk, I'm pulling up LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, everything, and looking at it before it's scrubbed. So I'm just curious if that's something that's discussed among students nowadays, is what's being put online and that's part of you.
Well, I think it is, because when I was in Miami, there would be people that would tell friends all the time, oh, don't post those pictures on Facebook of us at that party the other night and whatnot. But I feel I really have nothing to hide on my Facebook account. So if I felt like I did, then it would be on private, which, I mean, it is on private now, so I just don't. No. That's just for other people that I've met in my past. I don't want nailing me and messaging me all the time. So I feel like I keep it clean. If I want something online, I'll put it there. If I don't, then it's never seen on the online community. And if you have good enough friends, and they know that as well. So whatever you put on Facebook is at your own discretion, or whatever goes on Facebook about you is at your discretion, and you wouldn't be at that party letting people take pictures of you if you knew it was going online all night. So I just feel it sort of shows your personality.
Yeah, I think that issue was really big. I think about 3 years ago or 4 years ago when businesses really started to looking at Facebook, and I definitely had talked a lot about it with my friends, and we were all starting to use Facebook, and no one really thought about the stuff that you post, that everyone could see it, and I think more people are aware now that it's everybody accesses it and uses it to gather information, and I think we're all aware of that right now.
Brittany and Sarah, do you agree?
Yeah, I've played basketball my whole life and just did at FTCU, and they're always telling us to that your image is there, you represent our school, you represent our program, and we've always been monitored, and the athletic department always actually I have to be friends with them so they can monitor what we do and say, and I think it's always in the back of your mind, even though we're young, we still do stupid things, but you still make mistakes, but definitely we've always I've tried to keep an image, and we always talk about it. We're like, oh shoot, should we not post this? But yeah.
So there's definitely an offline conversation that you have about what
Definitely.
goes on your profile.
Your professors always talk about it too in class, and then you kind of comes the realization once you graduate that it's definitely going to happen.
So quick follow-up question, and this was actually my real one I was interested in, is when accessing Facebook or Twitter, all these things, are you guys doing it primarily from mobile, or are you doing it from your iPad or laptop, or are you doing it from home or desktop? What do you access as most? And my second part of that question is, if you're doing it by your cell phone or whatnot, how many of you guys are checking in places on Facebook or Foursquare or other, so that you're telling people where you're at?
For Facebook, I actually don't really use on my phone too much. I usually use Twitter on my phone just because Twitter is just, you scroll down and it's a lot easier on your phone. I get it's too much information for me on my iPhone for Facebook, if that makes any sense. And then, what was your second question?
Do you check in?
I will randomly, when we went to Hawaii, I was Hawaii International Airport, just because I think it, just random stuff like that, but usually I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I use Facebook for my computer and Twitter more on my phone, like Sarah. But as Foursquare, I don't see a use for it that much, because if I want people to know where I am, it'll be on Twitter, or I'll tell them ahead of time before I go, and they'll just know where I am because of pictures I post on Facebook. But Foursquare, I have friends that go over to my girlfriend's house, and they're mayors of the house. My roommate's, or her roommate's girlfriend is the mayor of the house. So I don't see how you can be mayor of somewhere you don't pay rent, or mayor of somewhere you don't own.
No, Kristen, you actually use Foursquare.
Yeah, I use Foursquare. I don't really have, I don't know, I feel like it's a bit more scattered, more so than Twitter or Facebook. But I'll check into different places. I won't check into 7-Eleven if I'm getting gas, but I checked in here, and if I'm at school, sometimes I'll check in there. But I just really, as much as I check in on the site, I'm just not as committed to it as I am to other social networks. And then, 90% of the time I'm checking everything on my phone. Sometimes I'll be at home on my computer doing something, and then I'll check my phone for my social networks. So it's just, I just always have it with me.
Yeah, I use Facebook on my phone most of the time, and I don't check into places.
Yeah, I've been using Facebook on my phone a lot more recently because it has been convenient and mobile. And when I do check into places, it's usually places I think that are pretty unique or cool to be at. So that's when I usually check in.
And you're checking out on Facebook, not Foursquare, right?
Facebook, yeah. I'm not on Foursquare.
Okay. Now, those of you who use Instagram, do you tag the photos with your location
I
on
don't.
Instagram?
No. Well, now, I mean, you can, if you put a picture on Instagram, you can upload it to Facebook and Twitter as well. And at the bottom of Facebook, it like has where you're at pretty much, like the city that you're in. So it pretty much tags you for it.
How do you feel about that?
It's weird.
Can you turn that off?
I don't think so. Timeline.
All right, let's take another question.
Hi, Nate Riggs with the Karcher Group. Curious to find out your reactions to the Facebook timeline and if and how it's changed the way that you use Facebook.
It scared me a lot at first, and I did not like it. And I just recently got it because I thought you had to get it because it like said it was going to change, and then it's not really changing. But I don't know. It's just like different. I feel like it's trying to be shy away from like the normal Facebook, which we grew up with, which I really liked, and it just is like really disorganized and cluttered for me. And I feel like it's just sensory overload most of the time, especially on people's pages.
I actually, I like the timeline feature. I like that it separates things into either one or two columns. It seems more organized for me. I can't, they've always put out different updates and changed Facebook over the years, and I just can't imagine being able to use it when I did in like 2008. I don't think I could. There's so many new features on it now that it's just, for me, it's a lot easier to use and a lot easier to navigate.
Well, I don't have timeline, and I don't really want to get it. It definitely organizes the page more, I think, but it also makes you aware that they know a lot of stuff about you and have it all the information.
So if your timeline doesn't, or if your page doesn't change, you can kind of forget about the fact that they have all that stuff on you anyway. Have you guys have you ever done the download my profile to understand what Facebook really has?
I haven't even heard about that.
That would be an exercise to go through.
I haven't done that, but I've read about the different things that Facebook keeps tabs on, and it's really scary. It's really, I don't know, creepy to think of all the information that they have and that they have the rights to use. And
We have one last question, Michelle, if that's okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Hey there, Frank Lee at DataPop. I had a quick question for you. Any of you guys use Groupon or Living Social?
Groupon? Is that what you said?
Yeah, Groupon, Living Social, any of these guys
I do.
regularly?
I love Groupon. Is that your question?
I use Groupon too. I check deals on there. I haven't really used it, but I bought 2 items, I think, over at Groupon, and I really like it.
I've only used Groupon, but kind of the same thing. I've maybe been on there for about a year, and I've only bought 2 or 3 things.
I was using Living Social for a while, but what happened was my email started getting full of, I want to call it junk email, but I was signed up for Living Social anyway, and most of the stuff to do was in Miami and not around the Fort Myers area. So in order to use it, I would have to drive an hour and a half east.
Okay.
So on that note, we're going to bring this to a close. These guys are all going to be on one of the round tables coming up a little later. So if you have more questions, they'll be around. Feel free to sit in on that. But join me in thanking Michelle and all of the students for their participation.